All right, guys, welcome to Beard of Darkness Book Reviews. Oh my gosh, I've looked forward to this one for quite some time. I first heard of Mr. Chiago, and I have to say, I know your name because I looked up you and Philip Chase. It was kind of like I want to say his name right, and I was so sure it was a TH sound. And I was so
Yeah,
glad that I did my research because it's not. Now, that's the Brazilian side. Now,
yeah,
Portuguese is
yeah,
Tiago.
yeah. Actually, it depends on your accent because yeah, the Portuguese accent it depends actually. People can say it either way. There's some accents in Brazil that say it differently as well that don't really use the ch sound, but mostly here in Brazil it's the ch sound.
So that's where you're at now is Brazil.
Yeah, yeah. I've lived my whole life in Brazil, and I mean, traveled and all that. I know some places outside of Brazil, but I still live here. Um,
What's
but
the
yeah,
weather like there right now?
it's pretty warm. I don't
Oh,
know. It's actually fine. Like we're in spring, so it's not too hot right now. But the U.S.'s winter is our like the northern hemisphere's winter is our summer. So when everyone's freezing up there, we get we get
right.
like really really high temperatures here. Yeah.
That's cool. I love so something that I truly love and I didn't know that I'd be so into it when I started the channel is culture.
Yeah.
It's seriously the coolest thing ever because here in the United States, whether you're from California or if you're from North Carolina, both, way opposite ends, or if you're from Michigan or Florida, opposite ends,
Yeah.
uh, there's always a little bit of culture that comes with that. But let alone somebody in the UK or Brazil, in your
Yeah.
case, I
Yeah.
just love it. And it brings me so much joy to learn about what I'm not used to.
Yeah.
Gosh, let's kind of get into a little bit of the meat and potatoes, if you will, and then we'll kind
Cool.
of
Yeah.
venture. Yeah, we'll venture off where the opportunity brings us.
Hmm.
Give us the name of the series, and then go through your novels and the novella.
Okay. So the name of the series is The Ashes of Avarin. It currently has two published novels and one prequel novella. The published novels are Touch of Light, which is back here. It was a SPFBO finalist last year. I have that cool little coin that
It's
that
so
I got.
cool.
Yeah.
So what? So real quick before you continue, when you did you get it in the mail or did Mark give that to you personally? How did that happen?
No, I really wanted to go to BristolCon to get it personally from Mike and me here, but I just couldn't with small kids and all that. Traveling is really hard. So
Impossible.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still kind of impossible. I still probably need like at least 6 more months before we consider jumping on a plane or something.
Your oldest one is how old?
It's 3 years and a half. He'll be 4 in April. So
So I have
yeah,
one that's almost 5, and look, there's no traveling coming anytime soon. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me
yeah,
wrong; he's very mature for his age, but he has those moments. It's just like,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah,
Dad, it's like, Dad, I'm about to just wreck your car real quick, or Dad, I'm going to put a chicken nugget where chicken nuggets shouldn't go, like a ranch packet. Me and my wife find these rotten ranch packets. Like, how did I not smell that? And just
yeah,
the worst
exactly.
spots in the van. Like, of course, do you have a van? What kind of vehicle do you have?
It's a SUV.
Okay, so you have two.
Yeah,
That's acceptable. We have
yeah,
four,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like there's no spots left. We need like a full size work van by now.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, just the
I
most
can
random
imagine.
spots. Okay, so continue. Let's hear more about. So book one is A Touch of Light, which I love that. Love that title. I love the cover. Who did it?
The artist is called Alejandro Colucci.
Alejandro
He's
Colucci.
from yeah, he's from Uruguay, but he lives in the UK. So he's based in the UK. I just found him on Reedsy,
Hmm.
and is it? Yeah. Oh my God, I forget the name. Hey Beth.
Beth
Uh,
Tabler from, I hope I'm
yeah,
saying Tabler. I'm not quite sure of the pronunciation, but before we go blog,
yeah,
that's her. That is her.
and Grimdark magazine.
Yep, Grimdark, along with Adrian, and we've got John Morrow, and just a
Yeah,
wonderful gang of people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Not John. John is the best as well. So many cool people.
Yeah,
So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Alejandro did a spectacular job. Just I have to get the second book to show
yeah,
it off
one
because
hundred
I
percent.
always
Grab
forget.
it.
Hold on.
Yeah, 100. So while he's gone, guys, I visited his website, and whoever did his website is just a master of doing websites. I'm
I
dipping
did
my
my own
finger.
website.
Of course you did.
It's I just I use this thing called this thing. It's a it's a theme. It's a WordPress theme called Divi, and it makes stuff
Okay.
super easy. It's basically drag and drop. I have no coding experience with websites, so I just do. I kind of learn. I taught myself Photoshop with YouTube videos.
Hmm.
Started doing all the images and stuff, and looked at websites, not necessarily author websites, but just websites that I found cool
Yeah.
and built it. So
It looks great. Professional
yeah,
pictures too. Like I mean, it's one thing to kind of build your own website, but then you've also have to take professional pictures, which you did. My wife is a graphic designer, and she was like, "Wow, this is impressive." So you grabbed a book. Let's see it.
oh, sorry. Yeah, this is book number 2, Shade of Madness.
Uh, just a triumphant bird. What's better than that?
Yeah, yeah. It's the coolest griffin you'll see in your life.
Yeah.
Uh,
Dude, griffins are seriously probably one of the most mysterious, like, what's not mysterious? That have like the best mystique about them.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
What's more triumphant than a lion and an eagle mixed, right?
yeah. Exactly. It's like
Oh,
uh, what do you get if you get like the most regal cat and the most regal bird and like smash it together and
yeah.
you get
So I do apologize because I said sorry. Oh, 1 second. Tori talks.
oh
Everybody
yeah,
knows who
Tori.
Tori is. Wonderful booktube page. Honest. I love when she drops in. Who let Thiago on the internet?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Tori is
Well,
actually I'm super close to Tori. Like we talk like me, her, a few of our friends as well, like Andrew Meredith. She's also super close with Sarah Ferrari, another spectacular artist who did the internal art for the hardcover of Shade of Madness, which
uh,
I do not have a copy.
what really? As the author?
Yeah,
So what's going on with
actually,
that?
it's I meant to order it and then I never got around to ordering it.
Oh,
And
I
then
love it.
every time like I think about it, I just jump on to order it to like for someone else.
Uh-huh.
And then I never get a copy for myself. And I just don't have one. I don't know. I need to order one. I do, but I don't know why I don't have one. It takes like 2 months and a half to get here to Brazil as well. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, since you're in Brazil, so are you in northern, southern, western, eastern Brazil?
southern Brazil, south, that's São Paulo, so it's southeast Brazil.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Paulo. Okay. So this is one of, like, I wanted to make sure to repeat myself because, man, just the culture. I speak to so many people, people who watch my channel. You guys are seeing all sorts of people. The coolest thing to me is learning the culture. I always have something to do research after the interview. Um, I will familiarize Brazil. By the end of my YouTube career, I will have researched everywhere possible on this earth. Thank you guys so much for introducing me for all that. So,
Awesome.
what is
Yeah.
book 3?
Book 3 is currently being written and
Mhm.
edited. It's called A Twist of Faith.
I love it.
Uh yeah.
And the
It's
the novella, though, right?
yeah,
Is can it be?
the prequel novel. It's a
I
prelude to
absolutely
Ashes.
love it. It's
Yeah,
where did I see? I'm trying to remember where I first saw your.
I
It
made the
may have
cover for this one.
you
This
made the
was
cover.
yeah, yeah. I have a
Wow.
friend who drew this. It's one of the symbols. That's one of the chapter headers. So the book has I tried to like, and I learned this from Ryan Cahill. Uh, the book has like as much value as I could put into it.
Uh,
Um, Basically to justify the price and all that. It's not more expensive than your regular book, but I just thought it's super cool to like
oh my goodness. There's
have
nothing
this.
more refreshing than opening a dust cover, and the actual naked hardback is just as beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then there are these symbols, which are at the start of every chapter as well. So you have the map, and then you have the symbols here, right?
Yep.
So this is one of the symbols that's really tied to these four symbols are part of the religion, right?
Mhm.
And the religion is kind of like broken up into four pillars, which is the blood, the body, the breath, and the bone. Uh,
Mhm.
'Cause I wanted to make a smart alliteration. I thought it was being smart. I don't know.
No, on
But
the
yeah,
opposite of being smart, Matt is calling me out because of my lack of knowledge of geology here. Uh, like in Matt-like fashion, I love so much that you asked if he lives in Western Brazil. Thiago out here live from the Amazon. Hey, you never know.
there are cities in the Amazon. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
uh, not that I
there's a
knew
whole
that.
state called Amazon. So yeah,
That's cool, and that's brand new news to me. I like it's not like I knew that, but I love that he put that because I am very ignorant, and which why is why I also love the culture of everybody I speak with. Um, Thanks for being here, Matt, and calling me out on my stupidity. Uh,
technically, Western Brazil is inside of Brazil, so you'd have to draw a line like inside of Brazil, and you would have Western and Eastern Brazil technically. If you
I
just said like
appreciate you
Western,
sticking up for my ignorance.
if you said like Western Southern America, then it would be harder to defend. But because you said Western Brazil, you're looking at Brazil as a unit, so
Well,
you kind
you
of have
have
to
to
have.
because you're from Brazil, so and you live in Brazil. In my head, I think of the United States as like my go-to like variable here. You've got west, east, north, south, and you can distinguish. We've
Yeah,
got territories, and in our case, which are states,
yeah,
which where you're at, they're countries. In Canada, they're um,
yeah. Brazil is kind of like a funnel. It gets like thinner the
so.
the
What is
lower
something
you
that
go.
you can do in Brazil? You said you've traveled that we can't do here in America.
Uh, Drink on the street, maybe.
Wow. Now
You don't need
that's the kind of
you
answer
don't
I
need the
look for.
bag. You
Now,
don't
is there
need
a
the bag.
drinking age there?
Yeah, it's 18. It's not 21.
I think that's acceptable.
Yeah,
If we're
yeah,
talking about it, if you're old enough to smoke a cigarette, I mean, which depending on if you're an alcoholic or not, is probably a little more harmful than using alcohol occasionally.
yeah,
So it's always cool. That comes along with the culture.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely. And people in Brazil never understand when you see in movies like people on the street with a paper bag. They're like, what's inside of that? It's because you
yeah,
can't. Yeah.
so you're not allowed to. So what you're saying is you're allowed to drink on the street, but you can't
No,
have
no,
it in a
you
bag.
can. I just think like in the US you can't like walk around with just naked
No,
drinks,
yeah,
right? You have to
right.
have the paper bag. You don't need that here in Brazil. You can do whatever.
Yeah. So every time that you get like a case of beer or whatever
Yeah,
here in
yeah,
the states, they legally, I'm pretty sure, have to put it in a bag, like you said.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
cool because it's just the difference. It's like, where do people come up with these laws? Like, is there legitimacy to any of them? Because
yeah,
everywhere it's like different.
yeah.
So, is there a specific, obviously, with your novels, we have to read those in order, but as far as your novella, is there a specific, do we have to read that first, second? Does it matter?
So it depends on how you like your experience. being 100% honest. The way that the world works, uh, people like characters actually can live very long in this world because the kind of like umbrella pitch for the series is that death is considered a sin. So what would happen if people couldn't mourn the dead, um because they worship this goddess that is the representation of life. So if you if you die, it means the goddess has basically discarded you, right? And then uh you have to be forgotten. You're unworthy if you're dead, unless in very specific cases where the church deems you worthy and your body is kept, and for this event that it's called the Promised Dawn. That's when the goddess is going to return, right? And
Mhm.
that's basically it. But for this to work, people actually have to live forever. So the kings and the people in power and people who gain a little bit of um, notoriety, I'd say, or uh, the faithful, basically, they get blessings from the seraph, who's the goddess, right? The goddess is called the seraph.
Uh-huh.
Um, and these blessings are what's believed to extend your life. So people can live forever as long as they are receiving the blessings of the seraph.
I don't
Uh,
know if you see what's going on real quick over here in the chat, but we've
yeah,
got some.
I
It's pretty interesting.
I love this. Yeah, yeah. This is like every day with Andrew and Tori.
Oh, so
So
I'm
yeah,
new to this.
yeah,
That's wonderful. I love it. Tori
yeah,
says
yeah.
Thiago would be more handsome with a handlebar mustache. You would look good, my friend.
I have done that on Alan's stream from Library of Alexandria.
Hmm.
He said like I don't know what it was. He said something bad about mustaches, and I said challenge accepted, and he was like, "I'm not challenging you." I was like, I don't care. I'm just gonna
I'm just gonna do it.
let yeah, yeah." And then I hopped onto his stream with just a mustache. So
I love it.
uh,
And that guy's out there. I love his channel. He's very opinionated. I could just see like him being surprised. Like I haven't talked to the guy. I hope to one day. He's got a
yeah,
wonderful channel, but I can definitely just knowing how he is like on his channel, be like, oh, of course he did it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah,
What?
I mean, just to complete the other side. So yeah, this is like one of the big cultures in the book, but then there's this other culture which is outside the domain, which is the domain is this like group of countries who all follow the seraph, right? And then
Mhm.
there are the clans who are a little bit more clan-like, a little bit more primal, um, and they believe basically the opposite. They believe that all life comes from the earth, and if your life isn't being useful, you're wasting it, and you have to give life back to the earth. So they
I
kind of like
love it.
death a little bit too much, while the others like don't like death. So you can see how those two cultures are eventually gonna
It's
you know,
pretty natural as
clash.
far as like what we believe in, just as like kind of what we're raised to. Whether I guess it just depends on who raises you, but
Yeah,
I would say that a lot of us can relate with those kind of terms. Whether I mean good versus evil, based on your good and your evil. I think that that's a wonderful thing and a wonderful theme to explore.
yeah,
And gosh, uh, the reason I asked you to come on the channel is I've just heard just the coolest things, and it just made so much sense that you talked with. Oh my gosh, we was talking about it before. I'm having a brain fart. Philip Chase.
yeah,
You
yeah,
guys explore religion. You guys explore the intrigue. I love it, and I'm so happy to hear about it. I cannot wait to just get lost. I can see myself getting lost in the lore that you're speaking with. How does that feel as an author to hear that? Because I'm being 100. I'm always on. This is an honest channel. I'm
yeah,
not
yeah. Love it.
always
Yeah,
into the authors I speak with, but I'm into promoting. But yours specifically, I see myself just kind of like, all right, babe, but I'm just gonna like hibernate in here. Will you take care of the kids for just another hour? Kind of thing.
yeah,
How
yeah,
does
yeah.
that feel as an author?
It's spectacular. Honestly, it's still it never gets old. It's still kind of mind blowing. Like a lot of things on this journey have been kind of mind blowing. But I always say that I'm not the kind of author who's been like thinking of this world my entire life, or have this story written and just waiting to publish it my entire life. I decided I was gonna write, and I sat down, I researched stuff, and then I came up with it. So, but I do believe that, the elements of everything that I've created are things that I've been thinking about and experiencing my whole life, because that's just our own mental models, right? That's everything for everyone. So
Yeah.
the way you see the world is a result of your experiences, right? Because
Oh, you
it's
nailed it.
like, yeah, nothing is neutral.
Mm-mm.
We say, like, we consider things to be neutral because they are in what we consider to be normal, right? But our
Which is
normal,
different.
yeah, exactly. Our normal is shaped by our view of the world, which is built by everything that you've experienced and lived, like, since you were born.
Mm,
So that's what makes everyone unique, and that's
it's
what,
beautiful.
yeah, and so, and that's what's mind blowing to me, because you know, this is the stuff that's like, okay, I built this in my head, and then I put it down into words, and then people are diving into it and getting lost in it, and they just need the next book, and they need, like, more, and it's just super cool. It's so hard
Uh,
sometimes to wrap my head around, that this thing that I just cooked up in my head is suddenly popular
so
to
I don't know
people all
really
over
how
the.
to. Yeah, I love that. So I had to interject just because sometimes I get these feelings, and I have to let you know. Um, I look a little pretense here, guys. Chiago and I have never spoken.
Yep.
Um, not even a single time. We've texted a couple times. Yes, it's beautiful. It's wonderful, and I think you should throw that off the like shout about it. Like I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I get these feelings sometimes when I speak with an author, and you make me feel comfortable. I don't know how. I don't mean to make things like awkward, but there's something about the way that you're talking about your book and these comments that I'm getting from these people who love what you write, and I just feel like that you're a very humble person, that you love what you're doing, and it just inspires me. So I wanted, if I
Thanks.
feel that, yeah, I just want to have the chance to let you know that's how I feel. Uh,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, 100, you deserve it. Look at all these people that are here for you. That's so cool to me, man. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
so
I mean,
uh, go
if
ahead.
there's one thing that I always say, is that I am very, very passionate, and I think that kind of bleeds through, like, in everything that I do. Like, I can't talk about fantasy or reading or writing without my passion kind of bleeding through. So that's why I guess it gets comfortable, and I'm just I'm not really worried about hitting certain notes or whatever.
I
I'm
respect
just
that.
talking. So yeah, I guess when you just talk naturally, stuff gets more comfortable.
I think that yes. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how much I can relate with that because I don't like. There's two things I don't really talk about. Well, I do speak on them, but I don't go into detail. Uh, which one is definitely my political views because listen, we're all gonna piss somebody off, and that's not why I'm here. Listen, I'm here because we all have a love of what brings us together, which is literature. And I feel there's no place for that unless we're speaking about maybe the politics in a book or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Two is my personal feel with religion. I'm a religious guy, but nobody's going to really know exactly how I feel because I think that that's a personal thing, and we can relate with each other with kind of without even saying it when it comes to that kind of stuff. But some of the coolest things, Andrew D. Meredith says,
Yeah.
I think that's why I loved his book so quickly. I had to learn to face death with older generations in my family passing, and I had to make decisions to look it in the eye. Ooh, that's deep,
And
Andrew. Thank you for sharing that.
that's actually one of the main sparks that pushed me to write a book with this idea around death. Like, death is a big theme in my book,
Mm,
right? And if you ask me, what's your book about, and I tell you it's about life and death. there's nothing more cliche than that. Like everything in the world is about life and death. But it it kind of is, because it's not just about life and death. It's about how we face death and how death is like a huge taboo in most of our cultures. And obviously, yeah, it's taboo. I don't know if taboo is the right word, but it's
It's not
like,
something that's easily accepted.
yeah, yeah,
As far as
yeah,
personal exception, I don't mean like
yeah,
when you write your
yeah,
story, if it's accepted or not accepted. I mean, when somebody dies in our life, which is something we all experience,
yeah,
and
yeah.
whether somebody says that's cliche or not, that's probably the one thing in all of our lives that we will never be okay with, no matter how many times it happens. For
Hmm.
me personally, some deaths are harder than others,
Yeah,
but it's so final. And the
yeah,
way that we deal with those as individuals, touching on that in a book,
yeah.
so in this case, fantasy book, I think that it only, and did you aim to inspire through your book, or did you aim to gain understanding? I know that's kind of a little deep, but what
No,
is your
yeah.
thoughts on that?
My aim is always exploration.
Okay,
Because I think if you aim to inspire, you're treading a really hard line, and it's really easy to become a little bit,
expectations.
yeah, and it's really easy to sound a little bit, a little bit full of yourself, maybe even close to being a little arrogant if you try too hard to inspire people, and it can fall flat. Like it can easily fall flat.
I agree.
So my idea is to explore and to give you different views through the characters, and I'm very clear about this. These aren't necessarily my views. They are views from people who see the theme at the center in different ways. So
You
death,
kind of
for
let the
example.
reader come up with their own view
Exactly.
through what. Oh, I
Exactly.
love it, dude.
I'm
It's
just giving
probably
you the
some of the
tools to
deepest
explore it.
things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very, very, very thought, and it's thoughtful of you, first of all. But I don't know if I've ever had a more personal answer than that so far on this channel. That's incredible, dude. It's really cool, and I haven't ever thought of that aspect before speaking with you just now. Um, I'm so glad to have you here, and everybody
Thanks.
else's too. Yeah, of course. I hate to make somebody blush, but I'm just an honest guy. So
Yeah.
Tori, along with Andrew, I'm so glad, or thank you for your stories, Thiago. We're so glad you decided to write down these stories, Thiago. Um,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, that was a little out of
Hi,
context.
Sarah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Sarah.
Sarah is
But
the artist of the internal art that I have that in
oh,
the hardback for book 2, which I don't have.
now is the name Sparrow
Sparrow
Springs?
Springs. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Oh, thank you for stopping in. This is somebody I like bringing new people to my channel and learning little tidbits like that because I would have never known that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Thank you, Sarah, for stopping in, and I can't wait to see your work.
yeah, and
I've reached out to a couple illustrators, of whom are very busy and don't have a time for an interview, but I'm searching for an illustrator to interview because I think a lot of people need that insight from a cover artist or an illustrator from a book. Uh, Maybe you and I can do an interview. That would be cool. But I think that
Sarah's great.
I love that. Such a real dude. I agree. I haven't met Thiago and sorry, I haven't met Thiago in person yet, so I can't verify his realness. He may be an imposter. Oh,
I'm
uh
I'm an AI construct,
oh.
really. Like it's
You've got a pretty good one. Whoever programs you knows what they're doing.
yeah.
By the way, speaking of like the deep fake, have you seen the Joe Rogan deep fake?
I don't think so. I don't know
Man, they
which
really
yeah,
like you would never know. It's scary.
really? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. He's like promoting this product that he has no idea that even exists personally, but they've done his voice in a deep fake. They've done him
Wow.
like he's in an interview, like It's really scary. So I think there's wonderful things that can happen through AI, but I think there's also terrible things. It's like everything else. It's like the yin
Oh
and
yeah,
the
yeah,
yang, right?
yeah, yeah.
Let me
And
go ahead.
I realized that I went off on a tangent, and I didn't say if you should start with the novella or the novel. So
I'm so sorry.
basically,
Thank you for going
no,
back
no,
to that.
it's my fault. So basically, it depends how you prefer your experience, right? I am a very big show don't tell kind of guy. So I will give you what you need when you need it, not before. Because if I info dump stuff, it becomes a little bit of a slog to me, right?
No, I agree.
I have trouble getting through Brandon Sanderson books. Gasp! I
He
know.
does a lot of
Sorry, internet.
explaining.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's not that I don't like them. I've read like Mistborn and all that, and I think he's a great writer, and obviously, respect everything that he's done. But
Oh,
my
100%.
style is a little bit different than that,
I like
right?
what you said real quick. You did your research before giving your opinion, so that's much respected. And if anybody
Yeah,
is
yeah.
offended by that, let it be offended.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, and again, I'm not saying anything's bad. It's just styles what works for one
Yeah,
person doesn't work with the other
100.
necessarily. So, a lot of people might be a little bit overwhelmed by the size of the world and the cultures and the deepness of it. And I don't necessarily take your hand and say, look, this is this and that is that. I just kind of throw you into the deep end and say, just just float a bit
Trust me,
and
kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, trust me, things will make sense. I promise you that by the end, things will make sense.
Ah,
So if you don't like that kind of story, that kind of like style and storytelling, then start with the novella because it's the same world. It's one of the main characters from the novel, and it kind of like shows you a little bit more of a contained setting,
mhm,
and eases you into the world. So a lot of people found it easier to get into that way, right?
mhm.
But on the flip side, a lot of people liked the novella more after reading the novel because they already knew a lot of the characters. And like I said, a lot of the characters kind of live over 100 years
I
in
love
this
that.
world. So uh, they were more engaged. They felt more engaged because they already knew the world. They already knew a lot of the characters. So there really isn't a right answer. You know, um, some people like to read it one way. Some people like to read it the other. So you know, do what works for you.
Okay, so me personally, what I'm going to do, and I signed up right before we got on. Um, like I told you at the beginning, I like to speak with people before reading their books. I
Yep.
think that just and I recommend just from my experience, if I have an author on that you haven't read their books, hop in and get their take on their own book because let me tell you, reading a book after interviewing somebody is a totally just amazing thing. Because you get a sense of who they are, their personality, how they wrote, why they wrote, what inspired them to write, and it's just an experience. I think everybody should at least try. Find one of the authors that you may have not read before. In this
Yep.
case, if it's Thiago, you get to hear from him firsthand, and then you get into the book, and you're like, he told me about this during his interview with the
Yeah.
Beard of
Yeah.
Darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I get messages sometimes. People saying, "I started your book. I'm not understanding anything." I'm like, okay, just like this is like Malazan. It's like it's not like Malazan.
He's
I can
making it
attest to that
very
because
clear.
yeah, yeah, it's not even close to the level of complexity that Malazan has. Um, but it is show don't tell. So be prepared for that. And I like letting people know beforehand so that they don't get, surprise when they're reading. It's like, oh, I wanted more explanations. It's like this is the way this is the way that I write because to me that's the way that you jump into the character's skin.
Okay.
It because the like think of yourself experiencing any story. You don't
Mhm.
explain things that you already know to yourself.
You have to
So the
discover them.
characters, yeah, yeah, and if you know something, you know, so you like this is a mouse. if people did not know what a mouse was, and if people were reading a story about me using a mouse and didn't know what a mouse was, let's say it was some magical object, I
Mhm.
just call it a mouse because I know what a mouse is. I don't stop and tell myself, oh, this little black thing that I use to point at stuff at my computer. No, I know it's a mouse. I'm going to call it a mouse. So I'm not going to stop and explain it for the benefit of the reader. And uh, like I'm going to show it. I'm going to show the reader what it is without getting in the character's way. So that way it's more natural and you're in the character's skin.
The
You're not
insight you
seeing
just
stuff through
gave.
a filter. Yeah.
Yeah, the insight that Thiago is talking about is on another level, guys. I understand the hype. Oh my gosh, that's a whole other level of insight because me personally, I haven't thought that deep, but I will from now on. That makes perfect sense, and really at the foundation, it's very elemental. It's very basic, and I think that's a theme that I want to explore in my writing when I do. Um, is I think we get caught up in the complexities, like what you just said. Somebody comparing just because your story is show don't tell, you're not holding the reader's hand. You're expecting some trust. They're going to compare
Yeah.
you to things like Malazan. Like
Yeah.
that is one very specific part of Malazan, uh, amongst a million others, in which won't relate to your story.
Yeah.
So I think giving that insight is so spectacular. Thank you for that, because I think that mouse, that what you said about the mouse and the insight about what you just how breaking that down is so big in understanding what I hope to understand about your characters
Yeah.
and the themes that you go with. It's let's see if I'm almost certain that I've missed some questions over here. So what themes do griffins fall under? What, epically awesome?
Yeah, I was gonna say they fall under the badass theme thingy. So, and
So
Zack Snyder copied me. If you've watched the trailer for his latest movie, it's I forgot the name. It's something with the moon, I think.
Zack
Uh,
Snyder? I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar. So
the
I'm going to
the,
say
the
I'm a little.
director for the guy who did Justice League and all that.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
he
and I'm kidding.
definitely
He didn't
copied
copy
you.
me. Yeah. He didn't copy me, but he has a Rebel Moon. I think it's his new movie. If you
Mhm.
haven't seen the trailer for that, there's like this incredible griffin, and I
Oh,
was so happy. It's like sci-fi and fantasy like mashed up, and
so
there's this
how big? I
incredible
don't.
scene with a griffin.
I'm so sorry. So the internet. I always make sure to tell people I'm not a rude person. If I accidentally
No
interrupt you, I'm
worries,
so sorry, brother.
no worries at all,
I
at
wanted
all.
to give you a recommendation. Give me 1 second. I'm going to find it. I think it's right here. Yep, here it is. So this is what you would call clean fantasy, and I only say that because he classified himself as clean fantasy.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you guys would get along, and I think, and I started this book. It's such an adventure. If you want something that's clean, is going to take you on a Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings adventure that you just can't put down. Look at the griffin on the front of that.
wow, yeah, that's awesome.
Stone and Sky by Z.S. Diamante. I've got to throw my guy a little plug because he's got
Wow,
something really special.
I
Um,
don't think I've ever seen that cover. Yeah,
he's a new. This was his debut. Um,
okay,
yeah. So I think just the epicness of a griffin speaks for itself. Am I right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
imagine you're on
absolutely.
like vacation and, well, I don't know about Brazil, but if you've been to the United States, let's just say like Missouri or
Hmm.
the Grand Canyon. Everybody knows the Grand Canyon. You're
Yeah,
just sitting
yeah,
there, you're taking a picture, and then you see this lion with eagle wings just flying. I mean,
yeah,
could you imagine how inspiring that would be and how epic? I
yeah,
mean, nobody
yeah.
can be like, "Oh, I hate a griffin." Come on, get out of here.
It's like, when you're a kid, you always like imagine like how did people come up with these animals? They have to have been real at some point, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Or, well, to be honest, if somebody doesn't think that, so if you think that the most epic animals are alive today, I really encourage you to do some research. There
Mhm.
are some birds that would absolutely, their beak would not only eat you, but like 4 or 5 of you.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um, some of the dinosaurs that existed, somewhat like Megalodon. Of course, Hollywood has had one hell of a venture with Megalodon, but
yeah, yeah.
look up the numbers, guys. Go check out some prehistoric creatures and look. I will truly always believe this unless something drastic changes my mind. Uh, Fiction is always pretty interesting, but real life is, I think, a little more. I forget to quote. It's like nonfiction is more incredible than fiction, something along those lines. But
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. So let me get over here and there's some cliches. Charlie, wonderful reviewer
yeah.
for Fanfi Act, along with myself. He's a regular on my show. I really suggest anybody to go read his reviews. They're absolutely wonderful. Cliches are cliches for a reason, i.e., they are true. I love that statement
Yeah,
because that is true.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Alex Valdiers, he is another indie author. He says, just been editing 80 pages of A Wolf in Space, which, oh, what an epic cover, my friend. I never thought that I would see a cowboy on the back of like a unicorn in space. Uh, it's pretty cool. I don't know if it's a unicorn, by the way. It could just be a regular horse. Either way,
Yeah,
he's a cowboy in space, and it looks awesome.
yeah.
Open YouTube to take a break in this amazing interview. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Um, I'm not. Maybe I don't know the context for this, Andrews. Excuse my ignorance. The theme of
I
Griffins is raisins.
Yeah, raisins are my mortal enemy.
Oh,
I think they're pointless and I hate them. And everyone just uses raisins against me now because it's like a well-known fact if you know me that I hate raisins. So
just gonna throw it in your face. Oh,
yeah.
if Thiago hates it, let's just throw it at him.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
love
but
it.
it's all in good fun. Yeah.
Of course,
Sorry.
that's the best. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I think that you've got a true friend when they can joke with you about anything. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
it's so fun seeing all these people who actually know you, and I'm so glad to get to know you. By the way, you've been so
Yeah,
wonderful.
me too. Thank you.
El Montague says, "Preachy," says the preacher. That's the whole point. Don't preach. Share something real and let it preach for itself. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's pretty deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's actually the moderator for my Discord, which if
Oh,
you
okay.
guys want to know my future interviews, I don't share that on my Twitter. Come to my Discord, and I've got some really banger interviews coming up. Of course, just uh, give me your opinion, Thiago. Should I keep that exclusive to Discord?
I don't know. I mean, the more you spread the word, I think the better is my take on stuff. So yeah,
Thank you.
the more people like like
I've had a hard time thinking about how to share that on Twitter. Like Twitter's like a right now kind of thing. Like I'm gonna talk
yeah.
about like the moment. Maybe my Facebook got hacked by some asshole, for the
Hmm.
lack of a better word, and I haven't been able to get it back. And he's like asking all my friends and family for money, like a real dick. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry to go out on a tangent. Uh, Michael says, I don't know if I want to be inspired by a book as much as I want to just go on a journey and experience it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. One second here. I'm back. So like Raisin the Dead. Oh, they're just getting you.
No, I just and I also like I know Katie for a long time as well. She's also a great author. She was
Cool.
in the same group that I was in SPFBO. Uh,
Katie, I'm looking up your work after the interview. Thank you for that, Thiago.
yeah, yeah. The book was The Assassin of Prince and Secrets, which is a pretty good book. I think it got to the semi. Yeah, yeah. Uh, it was really good.
Thiago, if you didn't
I
know,
still need to get to it, but
oh,
yeah,
okay. That's wonderful. That's cool to know because something that I want to let you know, a lot of the viewers know this by now because I repeat it all
yeah,
the time, but I'm
yeah,
32. I turn 33 next month. I discovered books. Well, of course, I know about books, and I just knew that
Yeah,
I hated them most of my life. I
yeah,
found my love at 29, so I have a lot of books and knowledge to get to. So any little tidbit that I get, just like you throwing Katie Andrews' book out there, is just gold to me.
yeah,
Kay's
yeah.
Hidden Shelf. She's going nighty night. Her eyes are closing. She will be back for the replay. Thank you so much, Kay.
Thanks,
I call
Kay.
you Kayla because I think me and her have a thing coming up. It's gonna be a really fun chat. I hope everybody checks it out. She's got a wonderful channel, and it's like so
Yeah,
cozy. Everything she puts out
yeah,
is like, oh, like I feel like going to sleep now because that looks so wonderfully comfortable.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think somebody brought up that she did like a recipe for cinnamon buns.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to check that out. I've seen most of it, but I have to check out the cinnamon buns because if there's one thing that I know my wife will fall for is some cinnamon buns.
Awesome.
Maybe I can cook her some good cinnamon buns soon. I'll have to check it out, Kay, and I'll tell her that I learned it from you.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. While you guys are chatting away, thank you so much. I'm sorry that I'm so slow. Oh my gosh. Um, it was an honor to lose to Thiago last year. The SPFBO is all about the friends we make along the way. Can
Yeah.
you honestly say that there's not a better rendition or theme of the indie community itself? It's just such an encouraging place to be. Do you agree?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And SPFBO was really special to me because Mark Lawrence is my favorite author. I've
Mm.
been pretty inspired by a lot of the stuff he does and his books and all that. So he's the guy who, yeah, that has become, and I'm not exaggerating, that has become my favorite book of all time
Oh my
since I
gosh,
read it.
that's my
Yeah.
birthday present that my wife couldn't save until my birthday.
Mine is up there. It's spectacular. I just love it. It's like I can't say too much what it reminds me of because if you watch the movie, it would be a little bit of a spoiler.
Okay,
But
don't. Yes, please.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
begging you.
Let's just say it has like Christopher Nolan vibes if you
Okay.
like Christopher Nolan movies. So
Honestly, I
um
don't understand your life if you don't, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And it won't seem that way like in the first, I don't know, half of the book, but
uh,
as you start getting through the second half, it's like kind of mind blowing.
now, have you read this one?
Not yet, no, no.
I didn't read the Lycania series, but there's something about a Roman Empire inspired fantasy book that this was my other birthday present that my wife
Yeah,
couldn't keep till my birthday. So, but what can you do? She was just
yeah,
excited to give it to me, so I guess I can't be too mad at that. I got two wonderful books,
yeah,
but I do have to say, Mark Lawrence. Uh, there's a little short I made. I was talking to John Morrow, and he popped in, and let's just say your boy was fanboying
yeah,
like a little girl at a Backstreet Boys concert.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh, can't wait to get through this book. So back to your writing.
yeah.
What has your publishing journey looked like? We know that you're self-published, but give us a little bit of a window of how that happened for you.
So yeah, like I started talking about like I'm not like the kind of person that's always had the plan to, oh, I'm gonna be a writer, I'm gonna write a book and studied it and I just the idea just started like creeping into my head um after I read a few books. I was like, I'd maybe like to create my own my own like worlds and stuff. And after some time I kind of realized that what really drew me to stuff in life was the story part of it. Like I'm a very big fan. I have all like I played Magic the Gathering, the card game, since I was like 8. And I just, what always kept me coming back to it was the story. It wasn't like oh, the competitive aspect or whatever. Yeah, that's cool as well, but it's always like the story, and the worlds that they created. So I'll touch on place names soon. It's actually a lot easier than it looks like. Um, but yeah, and then I kind of realized that I had this passion for story, and I said, well, maybe I'll write a book. But it was a very like distant idea in the beginning because I was like, I live in Brazil. Okay, I kind of grew up speaking English and Portuguese at the same time, so like the language wasn't a barrier for me, but like reading isn't that big here in Brazil. Like we don't have that as a cultural like aspect. I'd say
Really?
like like you have like in Europe or the US, I'd say. Yeah, it's I it's not the language's fault, but it kind of is. Because of the way that the people use the language, I'd say. I think most books that are written in Portuguese are written in a kind of way that's really not accessible because people like Portuguese is a very complex language, and if you use like all of the correct like tenses
Yeah.
and
Conjugations and all that.
grammatical conjugations, yeah, exactly. It becomes really like it's not how people talk. It's not like the stuff that you read. Like
So it's not
it's
realistic.
yeah, exactly. But for some reason, when people write in Portuguese, they use like this conjugation that no one ever uses when they're
Uh,
speaking. So
I
it,
know
it
what you're saying because I studied Spanish and there's
yeah,
conjugations. It's like they exist, but it's like people don't use them. So I get what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah. So the dialogue becomes kind of stiff. The writing becomes kind of like inaccessible to people because um I don't know why. It's
No,
just the way that people write here. So I'd say that's like the main culprit of people not getting into reading early here in Brazil. Fortunately, I grew up speaking English as well, so I always read books in English.
uh,
So yeah, it's kind of like uh two worlds like mashed into one. So yeah, I was I let the idea simmer for a bit. Like in my 20s, I was like, maybe I should write something, but I never really pursued it. And then um like when I was 32, I think, maybe, yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, um my son, yeah, 3 years ago, because it was before my first son was born. uh my wife was pregnant, and I just decided, yeah, I'm gonna start that now that my wife is pregnant, and I'm gonna have a child and not gonna have time for anything. So yeah, I'll just start it now. Like
yeah, no, that's wonderful. It's like you had insight about the whole process because that's important. You don't really grasp
yeah,
that until it's like happening.
yeah. And so I did. I sat down and I started reading craft books. Like I must have read like over 40 craft books just to get, what worked, what didn't work.
What is a graph
Um,
book?
a craft book, sorry.
Oh, craft book.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah, books on writing craft. Yeah,
got you.
yeah.
Sorry.
Uh, and yeah, that was just like I read those books for like maybe, I don't know, 3 to 6 months or something, and then I just started drafting, and eventually I published book one in 2022.
So are you an outliner to the core? Are you somewhat of in them? Okay, outliner.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
I have tried
I
pantsing. It's very hard.
no, yeah, I do leave space for myself to wonder sometimes, but I need the train track. Like, this is what I always tell people. Like, people say, "Oh, I can't outline because what happens if I deviate from the outline and then I get lost?" It's like the outline is just the map. When you're going somewhere, you don't necessarily follow the map 100% of the time. But if you do get lost, the map is there.
I'm so glad you
So,
said that
yeah.
because that's one thing that I'm writing my first little bit now. Actually, Ian Montague has encouraged me to write for Writers of the Future and submit a piece. And one of the things that I told myself is I'm writing this outline, but I'm leaving space. Like if you read my outline, which I gave to my wife, and she's really excited for me which I'm very thankful that I have such a supportive wife. It's very key
Yeah,
in really anything. If you're a writer, if you're whatever your ambition may be, having that support system. But Tommy, I'm saying this because I kind of want your feedback. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I have this outline, and I leave a lot of space for my writing to take me to. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'd say like I like that because I'd say like my outline ends up being like I don't know 60 to 70% of what the like uh faithful to what the final product is. So I'd say like 30% of what I write is stuff that I let myself like wander uh out outside of the outline. Not necessarily, it's not a hard number, but if I had to just
yeah,
guess, but
that makes perfect
uh
sense.
yeah, yeah, because sometimes, stuff just comes to you while you're writing, while you're in the character's shoes, and it's like, okay, I wrote this in the outline, but it looks like this character would do this in this situation, so I'm gonna go this way. And then and sometimes, you go that way and you hit a wall and you have to go back. So it's like I honestly think people put too much stock into outlining and pantsing. Um, they're just different paths to reach the same objective. So
Love
it,
it.
it just depends on where you're putting the work in, right? Outlining, you put the work in at the beginning, and pantsing, you put the work in a little more at the end because you'll probably need to edit it a little bit more heavily to get stuff into place and all that.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm an outliner, I'm a pantser, I can't do it any other way. It's just like it's, I wouldn't label yourself. I just come up with a process that works for you and follow it.
I love that you said that because I've talked to, well, there's one in mind. I don't name names. I respect everybody that I speak with, but I think that he put so much emphasis on the fact that he was a pantser that it almost seemed disingenuous.
Mhm.
It's like I don't think any process to that final goal that you're speaking with or speaking about is superior to the other.
No, no,
If
absolutely not.
you're
Yeah,
a pantser, wonderful. If that's what works for you. If you're an outliner, that's great. If that's what
yeah,
works for you. But calling yourself or putting yourself in a box, I think, is um, somewhat of a hindrance. It's a burden, I feel like, because you're living up to expectations. I feel like you should go through it, whether the process is making dinner or
yeah,
doing the dishes or writing a book. I think that you take it, try different things, and what works for you is the most beautiful answer because everybody's
yeah,
going to have a different way of doing things. I love that you
yeah.
said that.
And I think
Um,
if you label yourself, you kind of get boxed in and it stimulates fear because
ooh,
if your outline isn't working, like, oh my god, my outline isn't working, I'm lost now. Oh no, writer's block. And then like writer's block is just something you create in your brain. It doesn't exist. Okay, it's just another label that you put on yourself to say, oh, I have writer's block. I can't write. You don't have a writer's block. It's not a thing. Okay, I'm sorry to people
no,
who struggle. You can struggle writing, but if you say you have a writer's block, that's just using a label to give up. It's using a label to make yourself feel comfortable and say, "Oh, I
ooh,
have a writer's block. There's nothing I can do about it." No, just go back, find where stuff derailed and fix it and keep writing. It's
tenacity.
it's like, don't say you have writer's block and stop.
I
It
love it. Yeah, yeah,
it
because that
makes
makes
me kind of
sense.
yeah, yeah.
Because let's say I'm in the middle of my novel right now, and I'm like, look, guys, I have writer's block. You're looking for a way to. I think you can use it in two different ways. And this is from somebody who's very new at this. So please, if I'm wrong, correct me,
No,
guys.
yeah, there's
Um,
no wrong. I mean, someone might watch this tomorrow and say, "No, it's scientifically proven that writer's block exists." Okay, I'm wrong then, but it's just like how I see it. Even if it does exist, I'll never tell myself I have writer's block because I don't want to label something, say, like use something that's like a diagnosis to say, okay, so it's okay if I don't write because I have
Yes.
writer's block. Like it's okay if I don't try and find what's blocking me, right? Because when you say you have writer's block, it's like you've stopped trying to find the problem.
Ooh,
That is the problem, and there's no solution to it.
that is,
That's
you have a way of
how does that help
thinking.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, you have a way of thinking that's very I don't, the word I'm looking for is not elemental. You break things down and you're a
Oh
realist.
yeah.
You're realizing what is
Yeah.
going on past the label being put on the process
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
hear, or the excuse, for the lack
Yeah.
of a better word, which I
Yeah.
think is a really good word for what that's opened my mind to a lot of different things about what you just explained. And I hope that people, wow, yeah, thank you for that, because that, look, you've written for a while now, and just getting that kind of information is so, and that's why I'm here. Look, guys, if you're looking to write, that's the kind of gold that I'm searching for here, and it's so wonderful to hear it. Um, and not only that, that's your personal story too. That's the way you think, which is going to
Yep.
open my experience when I read your books. Which, um, all things aside, I'm starting tonight. I've just enjoyed this interview so much already.
Yeah.
Um,
Mission accomplished.
yes, 100%. So I'm gonna go back to the chat real quick, see if anybody.
Oh,
Uh,
so I can quickly touch on how to create names.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, this is something everyone struggles with in the beginning, and there are a few kind of like wonky strategies that sound wonky but actually work pretty well. Uh,
Writing them
something like
down.
just mash your keyboard, mash your keyboard,
Ooh,
and see what comes out, and then just look at the word that comes out, and like it probably won't make sense, but just add a vowel here or there because vowels are what make things kind of
make a
like
word.
readable for us,
Yeah.
and then see what you like, and then just go from there. That's one thing. I've seen people say they use brands, like they pick up, they look around and they find a brand of something, and then they just again change a few letters around, and boom, you have something like, okay, to you it will always be that you change that brand, but people won't know that you changed that brand because the first name they're going to be introduced to that name isn't going to like with that brand. And one of the techniques that I really, really like that I saw in a YouTube video on Hello Future Me. It's another like huge channel. Um I haven't been keeping up with the channel, so it's an older video. But if you just like you know search on YouTube like how to name things and
Uh,
Hello Future Me, you'll find the video. He dives really deep into just basically how stuff was named in the past. And it's super interesting because stuff like names sometimes don't have a meaning to us because they came from other languages and then were just changed. Like, did you know that the river Rhine is actually just Rhine is the word for river in, I don't know, the settlers, like the Germanic or I don't remember who, I think, or I don't know who it was that settled there at the time, but for the local people, right? Uh, Rhine didn't mean river, so they started calling it the River Rhine, and then so actually the River Rhine is called River because
redundant.
if you yeah, if you translate it, like if you translate Rhine, it translates into the river of the original language of the people who named it. Uh, uh, so you can do that, and you can start creating a lexicon. So like grab words and break them, and like for example, one of my nations is called Sakantha, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and so I broke it up like sac SAC means one thing, tha means another, and is just the link. An like Sakanta means like the an is just I think I made it on because it's built on the lake. Like the meaning is built on the lake because there's like this big lake in the middle of the nation. So once you do that, you can start using that for other stuff, right? So if you have lakes in other places, you can use the THA, that's the end of Sakantha, for other names. But so if you want to name a city something like make these like syllables for everything, for like valley, tree, river, whatever. You
Yes.
know, give meaning with these syllables, and then you just mash them up, and you have the lexicon ready to just come up with names, and it's super. It becomes like super easy
Two
when you
things
have
real
this
quick.
built.
When I first started, like before I started my channel, when I first knew that I had this burning desire to write, I typed in how to name places, something along that lines. And I have been searching for this channel for such a long time. And I just looked up Hello Future Me, and it's it.
Yeah,
You have,
yeah, yeah,
yes, thank you. This
yeah,
guy is so incredibly smart.
yeah.
And he just, it's like effortless to this guy.
He does
I
really deep
highly recommend
research.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can tell the guy is incredibly intelligent,
yeah,
and he gives meaning behind the names, and he kind of does the research for you. It's one of those channels that is so key, and I've been trying to find him for so long. Thank you for that, because he
yeah.
is a very big part of what I'm here for. I could not find him. I don't know how, because from it says he has
It's got like
one
over a million.
million seven
Yeah,
hundred thousand or 1,700,000 subscribers.
yeah,
The guy's got something going on that's really special, and I think that's a wonderful key to doing things. Not necessarily like you said, the wrong or right way, but gaining insight about the different ways that you can approach different elements of writing a novel. Thank you for that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Mashing the keyboard, I never even thought about that because uh, I can't think of the word, but like just kind of falling into something that just happens. I wish I could think of the word. One of my things I'm doing is like learning a new word from the Webster dictionary every single day. I will
Yeah.
know the word eventually. Um, but I think you've given a generalization to what I'm searching for in my own brain very well. Um, Alex
Yeah.
Valdir says about the names. Interesting fact: I named the 6 planets in A Wolf in Space from a Portuguese city, Gondomar, near Porto.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
used the ending for the others: Senazar, Valamar, etc. That's really cool. So you used something that was already created, and you made it your own.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing that I was gonna say. Like I got like real life places, and I just started using the syllables from these places, and breaking them up, and then putting them together with others, and started creating stuff.
Yeah, that's
So
one thing I have done.
like uh the city, like Gondomar, I think it's a real life city, right? So
Hmm.
mar in Portuguese means sea. Do means of, and gon is probably just something from I don't know, older Portuguese that they have, that they use to name the city. So it's probably something of the sea. Like so when you have that, you can use the ending. So yeah, your planets are all like related to the sea, and you didn't even know that.
Hmm. I love that. I love
So
it
yeah,
because one
yeah.
thing is my heritage, my ancestry. My great 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 grandfather came from Denmark, and he settled where my dad grew up. The Sorensens come from Denmark and are still in Grayling, Michigan. They really haven't ventured, which makes my ancestry easy to research. Um, so what I did is there's a forest I talk about, and I used Denmark. And I don't know necessarily the keywords within this name that I come up with, but Denmark being like the root word, Den Mali.
Yeah,
Um, I hope that that's not taken. I'll do some more research, but just like a really quick thing to put something on paper, it
yeah,
could
exactly.
change.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I love that bit of information because I think another thing, as a human, you kind of like already put yourself in a box. It's like, oh, we're so self-critical. Um,
Yeah.
we're like, oh, this can't be right because I'm thinking of it, or oh, this isn't right because it's probably not even gonna spark interest or doesn't sound good. I think that if you use, well, first, I think the encouragement through the writing community, like what we're doing right now, is so key. So thank you for touching on that. And Alex also says Gandamar, I hope I'm saying that right, is on the Douro
Yeah,
River
Dodo. Yeah, yeah,
that goes to the ocean. So you've
yeah,
got some brackish water when it meets
yeah,
the ocean.
and there just another interesting fact. Dodo is uh the words escape me sometimes. Is a contraction of of gold. Dodo. Like I
Oh,
said, like in Gondomar, do is of the word do is the possessive. This is
yeah.
it's of. So Doru and Oru is gold. So Doru is the golden river basically.
I love that because look, not only can you come up with a name, but it can actually mean something. And to the
Yeah,
readers who are committed, they will know that or they will research it. And for those who have researched it and are familiar with the topic that we're speaking about right now, it will make that experience just so much more um,
yeah,
immersive, I think, or special.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I'm not exactly a language nerd, but Arrival is my favorite movie of all time. And the main character is a
Arrival.
linguist. So yeah, yeah. It's a Denis Villeneuve movie based on a short story by Ted Chiang, which is spectacular.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's with Amy Adams and uh,
Is
the guy who plays Hawkeye, which I forget the name all the time.
I have started that movie, but now you can bet that I will finish it because
You will be in tears like a baby at the end of
I
it.
hope so. I'm
It
looking for
is
that book or that movie that makes your guy cry here.
it is one of the most spectacular and beautiful movies that I've ever seen. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
Really? That
and
is incredible.
the ending is so beautiful because it poses you a question and it doesn't try to answer the question. It's just like,
Ooh.
would you do this? And
Kind of leaves it up to the viewer or the
yeah,
reader
yeah,
to
it's
make up
spectacular.
their mind.
Yeah,
I like
I love this
open-ended
movie.
rhetorical questions, or in this case, like finalities, like you read a book and you expected something, but what you got was something that broadened your mind. And I think there's
Mhm.
no better way to explore the human condition than to ask a broad, open-ended question that is different for everybody who's watching or reading.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, thank you, E.L. Montague. The best questions have no answers. Yes, I think that's a great way to put it. Getting on to a couple more questions real quick.
Mhm.
What a wonderful conversation so far. What so we've kind of touched on some themes that you explore. When did your specific love for literature begin in your life?
So I think that's kind of like tied to my love of fantasy. Um, I just, like I said, when I was a kid, I started playing a lot of games like uh Age of Empires and Diablo and Warcraft 3 and Magic the Gathering. It was all like kind of like, medieval fantasy and all that. So I think just reading became a natural evolution. And then I started with The Hobbit, I think. Yeah,
Ooh,
like was my first fantasy book. And yeah, I was like, yeah, this is it.
yeah. So something that
Uh,
I repeat over and over again on my channel, and for those who've watched, they'll know this. My oldest son is almost 5, so he's 4. Um,
mhm.
and my wife, she's always like, I read to my kids, but it's not what I want to read. As far as what
Yeah.
I have in mind, The Hobbit. I've got 2 versions of it over here. I just got one, the most recent special edition. It's got like sprayed edges, and that is the book I want to read to my son when he is able to kind of grasp his imagination, and I can give an impact on that. What is your
Yeah.
opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super, super important to start early, I'd say. Because if obviously, The Hobbit is a book that's, I think, fine for kids to read. And you know, it creates this sense of wonder and imagination that is hard to create when you're not a kid, but it becomes ingrained in you when you're really young, and you carry it with you like forever. So, like,
I try to
if you do that
imagine.
when you're small. So, yeah,
I love that. So I try to imagine, like, I've got a pretty good imagination. That's why I fell into fantasy, pretty late, honestly. Like I said, 29, I'm 32.
yeah,
Um, but I can only imagine what my imagination would be if I would have been introduced at a very young age.
yeah, yeah,
I think it would be much more intense. And that's what I want to gift my kids. I want them to be able to use their creative um, outlets to express themselves, whether it's music or books or drawing or writing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you for that little tidbit.
And honestly, I think one of the first like influences that I had was Peter Pan, like the
Okay.
Disney movie, which is a pretty dark story. I know Disney makes it all cutesy and all stuff, but it
Yeah.
is like the original story that they pulled it from is very, very dark. Like Peter
Yeah.
Pan is the villain. He's not the hero. So yeah, but I just remember being a kid and having that sense of wonder when watching it and thinking that, like Peter Pan, I never wanted to grow up. Um, so
I
so
think
yeah,
an important part of being an adult is not letting yourself grow up all the way. There's
yeah,
obviously certain parts of our adult life where we need to be responsible, and
yeah, yeah,
it's key, raising kids, being a good husband or wife, and doing that to your best every single day with your morals that you want to pass and doing it in the truest sense. But I also think that if you are able to grasp that part of you that gives you that kid like inspiration, that's special.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, who are a couple authors that you would say have their hand in the way that you write?
So Mark Lawrence obviously is
Okay.
is a very big influence on me. Like I just
I
really like. I
love
wouldn't
that.
say my writing is similar to his, because I would never even think I'm in the same league as Mark Lawrence. Like writing wise, he's just
You're a human
such
just
a
like he is.
spectacular. Yeah, yeah. And I've been fortunate to interact with him a lot on his Discord. Um, he's also a very, very nice person. Um, so yeah, but still, I mean, to me, his writing is always going to have that's a status that
It just reads so easily. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
books where you
yeah,
have to kind of reread or like take a second to read a sentence. His
yeah,
is just so natural. The dialogue is just like you and your
yeah,
buddies.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's a lot of what I tried to take from it. Like just the level of the writing. Even if I don't really think that I've reached his level, and I never think I will, but I try to like implement that prose style and a lot of just like the world building and the little kind of like hints that he puts in. Uh, I got some of that from Rothfuss as well. I think there's a lot of stuff that's hidden in plain sight. I know Rothfuss isn't a popular writer at the moment, but he
He
wrote
inspires the
really
hell
good
out of me.
books. Yeah, yeah, he wrote two really good books in my opinion, and I really like just how he hides stuff in plain sight.
Mm,
And then when he reveals it, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that there it was.
mm.
Um, so that's another, and Abercrombie is also pretty big one, especially in like the battle scenes. I was
Yes.
very influenced by Abercrombie.
Did you laugh out loud the first time you read his books? Like I know the
I
Blade
didn't,
itself. Really?
and I never got that. Like people saying Abercrombie is funny and all that. I was like, Okay, yeah, it has a little bit of humor in there, but I never laughed out loud. I just thought it was like, quirky and like,
He
chuckle
has a way of
sometimes.
making like the darkest situations. It's like you don't expect it. It's out of the
Yeah,
blue. There's
yeah.
one in particular where I can't remember the wizard's name.
Bias.
Yes, Bias.
Yeah,
He gets out of the shower or the bath, and he's like, what the hell's going on?" And
yeah,
he's like, he gets out of the shower and is slapping fruits hanging.
yeah.
I laughed so hard that my wife, who's snoring, wakes up and she's like, "What the hell's going on?" And I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I couldn't help myself." Like it was one of those laughs that, like, no matter how hard you tried, you
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
contain yourself.
yeah,
Um, so, but I love that your take on it. You got something different from his writing, which I think is the
yeah,
point.
yeah. I think it gives like the humor gives us like color to it, but it was never laugh out loud humor to me. It was more of the kind of like it it contributed to the irony of the tone of his writing because his writing is
Yes,
pretty nihilistic, right? It's like,
right.
you know, nothing's ever gonna be good. The world
No,
sucks.
yeah.
And I think I saw the humor closer to irony of someone who's like, it's funny, but it's actually like really funny in a really dark way because he's trying to bring humor into dark situations.
Hmm.
Um, but if you're laughing at a dark situation, then what does that say about, the whole experience
Yeah.
and how you're
Uh,
experiencing it? So it's kind of ironic, right? If you're laughing at that dark situation. So to me, that's just how I saw it. It's not that I
uh-huh.
didn't find it funny or I think it's wrong to laugh out loud. I have no opinion on it. I just didn't laugh out loud. I thought it was a really interesting part of the writing and contributed to the tone really well.
It's like he put a coping mechanism
Yeah,
within his writing for the dark stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's like, okay, I'm going through this really terrible shit, and I'm still gonna try to crack a smile because I'm
yeah,
alive.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
exactly. And that's why reading spectacular, right? Because everyone has a different way of seeing.
the subjective part of life period is just what makes us obviously individuals, and it's probably one, other than culture, the other, and probably my number two favorite thing to hear about how we all differentiate and accept information differently.
Yeah,
And that just stems from our experience and knowledge that coincide with
yeah,
one another.
yeah,
E.L. Montague says, "I love the man that comes out of the darkness whole or renewed or even just alive." Yeah, like I said, like a coping, whether you're physically coping, mentally coping, which mentally coping is, I think, a lot harder.
yeah,
If you can take a dark situation and make it something that brings you light, reading that is just inspiring to me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so for you, what are some things you've got coming up?
Book 3 is the big one. So, my initial plan was to actually release it around November of this year.
Hmm.
But I've had a couple of situations, uh, like my editor has had a few rough uh bits of news and needed some time to get back mentally. So I'm
But you stuck
obviously
with
giving
him.
him. Oh, obviously, yeah,
I
yeah. He's
love
been with
it.
me since book 1, and he can have all the time that he needs.
I
I'm
love that.
not I'm not putting someone else in his place.
I
But
hate to say it, but you're unique in that. You're not going to settle for anybody. You've gained this loyalty for your editor
oh
that I
yeah,
think is
oh
very
yeah,
much a part of the process to make it a pure process.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'll just I'm giving him the time that he needs to get back and
Good for
because
you.
you can't really force that even if like the book becomes secondary after someone has something really hard happen in their personal life.
Yeah.
um so like November probably won't happen, but I'm aiming maybe start of next year, um,
Oh,
somewhere around that. Which is still pretty fast. Like I've been releasing at least a book a year. So
well,
um,
just to let you know real quick, like I'm Team Chiago. Like, you let me know when things are going down, and I will scream from my rooftop about you. So,
yeah, thanks,
yeah,
absolutely,
100%.
yeah.
Um, John Douglas says, if you had to fight one of your characters, who would it be, and do you think you could win? I like that question.
I'd probably pick the weakest, and I'd still lose. So that's
Okay,
I
so
yeah.
honest.
I have no idea who I'd fight. Life is hard in my world. People are you know. I'd pick a kid, maybe. Maybe I have a
The
chance.
honesty. I love it. That's gold.
Like just a
Editors,
random kid. Yeah,
the kid that is like on the outside watching everything happen.
yeah,
Let's fight
yeah,
that little bastard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's probably a villain disguise.
Yeah. So Yamatsky says editors are gold. They are part of the team.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah,
That really also just speaks on the humanistic part of what we're doing here. You gain this relationship with your editor. You trust him. He trusts you. Uh, that's pure in the most simple way that I can think of it in my head. And I really honestly respect that to the end of the world. I really do.
yeah.
Um,
And I mean, I he really helps me a lot. Like I could not imagine myself working with another editor on this series
can I
because
ask his name?
he's yeah, it's Julian Delfino. He I found him through a company that kind of like uh he, he doesn't work necessarily freelance. I found him through this company, which was founded by a co-author of one of the books I read, which is sorry,
No.
self-editing for fiction writers is the name of the book. And it's written by Dave King and uh, oh my god, the name of the person. My head sometimes just slips. Uh,
So you're human.
yeah, yeah, but it's called the editorial department. The the people who offer editing services are called the editorial department. If you Google them, you'll find them. Um, uh, Ross Brown is the son of the lady who wrote the book, and I'll look it up because I can't like not say it now. Uh, so yeah, it's really great. They have like really cool services. Um, and Julian was the editor who was like allocated to me in the beginning, and then I just stuck with him till the end.
So
And
Brian
he
asks,
got really invested. Rennie Brown with an E at the end. Rennie is Renni. So
mhm,
so she's one of the co-authors, Rennie Brown, and
okay.
Ross is her son, and he's like the guy who you'll talk to once you send an email to the editorial department, like looking for services, and
That's
he's
some
also the best.
gold.
It's super cool. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
gold information, guys. I think the people that do this amazing work that really, like John said, well, sorry, Eon Montague says they're part of the team. You've got your team, you trust them, and you go with them regardless. And I love that.
yeah, yeah.
Brian McCoppin says, "Do you prefer an editor that enjoys the genre you are producing, or one that is far more critical?"
I don't think those things are exclusive. Um, Usually, like at least when I talk to these guys, they have their fantasy editors, and their job is to be critical. So, yeah, I'd say both. Actually, just try and find both.
I love that. Good bit of information. Um,
Yeah.
I like to. E.L. Montague actually has influenced me in asking this question before I end interviews. Who is somebody you would like to see me interview in the future?
Hmm. I'd say like Mark Lawrence, but you said he already hopped into John's interview, right? So,
Um,
uh,
I haven't
or
announced
was it?
this yet, but I want to, and you've kind of brought it up, but yeah, me and Mark will talk in January.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Yeah, I am just
I'll
like you said, a
so
nice
I'll
guy.
I'll say I'll say two people because they were on my case earlier. Andrew D. Meredith and Tori. Once her book comes out, she's releasing Bloodstones a little bit later this year, and I've read an alpha draft, and it is very, very good. There was
From
a
Tory
cover
Talks.
reveal. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
There was a cover reveal last week, which Sarah is the one who did the cover. So
oh, it's a wonderful cover.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, I'd say, when Bloodstones comes out, everyone should read it. And uh, if you can get her on for an interview, I think it will be really cool because I think there's a lot going on in that book that I like to hear about.
Yeah.
And Andrew
So
D. Meredith as well has written some incredible books. I've read a couple of them.
me and Andrew just started talking actually.
Yeah, yeah,
I've got I'd have to look at my Kindle. He's on my TBR to read on my immediate Kindle, on my immediate TBR. Because we've all got this endless
yeah.
TBR, but then you've got some people that you put in front. Um,
The Collation
and
Saga is really good. His
Collation Saga.
series. Yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
his epic fantasy series. Yeah.
Remind me, Andrew, what he also sent me the ebook and or the audiobook and everything, and a special little bit of tidbit of information is he does his own audiobooks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've previewed a little bit of a snippet of it. It's on Spotify. Go check it out, guys. Thrice, yes,
Oh,
Thrice.
okay. Yeah.
Um,
Thrice is his other series. It's a little more cozy.
that's what he said. It's about a father and a son.
Yeah,
He took what he knew about me and gave me a recommendation of his own work, which I think is very curated and special.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so Andrew and I will absolutely be talking on my channel, and I have something coming up with Mike's book reviews and Tori and Matt from Go Reads Books. We're gonna have like a little
Awesome.
panel discussion.
Yeah.
So that will be super fun. I'm so glad that like every person that you named, I have on my
Cool. Cool.
interview
Yeah.
list.
I
Yes,
mean,
thank you for this.
I could name like 20 more, I think.
I'll tell
But
you what. Give me
yeah,
two
I
more.
just
Can you give me two more?
sure. I think you should interview Joe JCM Byrne. Uh he's the author of Wistful Ascending.
Yep,
I love that book.
it's so
I
good.
absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Uh,
And let's go with Crystal Matar because I'm finishing up her first book and I love it to death. It's so good. So good.
so JCM
Legacy
Byrne
of the
was
Grant
like
Rush. Yeah.
JCM Byrne was like my second or third interview. But Crystal
Oh,
Matar,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I that
I
do
missed
you
that.
understand how much?
So
No, that's okay. You're
yeah.
giving me a sense of accomplishment here, and I love that. That's what I aim to do on this channel is to get people what they want, and also um,
get
spread the
get Andy
word.
Peloquin on then. Uh he has some amazing books.
Will
Yeah,
do.
Darkblade Assassin is really good.
This one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, we get along pretty well, I think. Um, Wonderful. So Crystal Matar, I have actually also had Andy on, and he just joined Fanfiatics. I don't know if
Oh,
anybody.
cool.
Yeah, he just joined them today. In fact, I've been apart for like a month now. I've done a couple reviews, and I can promise you, yours will be one of them very soon.
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
can't wait. Andy's
Yeah.
a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. He's so cool.
So I always like to leave the last little bit of my interview. Is there anything that we've talked about or not talked about you'd like to highlight anymore? If not, that's okay too. But if there is, please let me know.
Off the bat, I don't know if there's anything that I feel is missing. I think I
Then
think
we've
I
accomplished
go
something.
yeah, I go off tangents sometimes and I leave answers like half answered. So I just leave a comment here that, if I didn't answer something to someone's satisfaction, you can always feel free to message me on Twitter. My messages are my DMs are open, so you can message me there or in Discord or wherever, or send me an email through my website, and I'll be happy to answer anything.
There's a couple links that I'll get from Thiago after this. So I have the whole encompassing window here that he is speaking of.
Yep.
I would just like to say I really, really have enjoyed this. I've gained so much insight and information speaking with you. I know the people who have stopped by to view now and people who will watch this afterwards will also. Just so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really, really cool to chat as well. And yeah, I've actually not been online that much these last few months because I've been trying to just, get life stuff together and write and all that.
Yes.
So it was just really cool to get back uh into a chat and you know
Yeah.
talk
It's,
about writing and stuff.
so yeah. So I just want to reiterate, thank you so much, Thiago. This has been just so much fun. Thank you for everybody who tuned in, and for those who watch in the future, thank you as well. And if it's up to me, this won't be the last time that we speak, Thiago. I've had such a wonderful time. I'll reach
Yeah,
back
yeah.
out to you, and I'll keep in touch with you, obviously. Until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in. I do have
Thanks
a
everyone.
couple things I want to speak about real quick. 10/27/23, which I believe it'll be Friday. I'm interviewing Christopher Russell, the Divinity. One second, I got to say it the right way.
Divinity's Twilight.
Yes, absolutely. Look at it. Divinity's Twilight author, which will include some very awesome art that he sent me.
Mhm.
I'll be dropping a review that day as well. He's actually the start of my new review interview process. Lately, I've been getting a hold of authors and saying, "Hey, I'm really interested in your book," and then I'll drop the review, and then we'll talk that night, kind of like a double hit, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's the start of
Cool.
that, and then the same day. So that one will be at, I believe, 5 p.m. And then that night is Michael R. Fletcher at 9 p.m.
Okay. Yeah.
So that will be fun. Tune in then. Share, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff to help the channel grow for people such as Thiago. He needs to get his message across.
Yeah.
It was
You
such
should
a
get
wonderful.
Katie on as well.
Who?
Katie, who was in the chat a little bit. Katie Andrews is her
Yes, I wrote
writing
her name
alias.
down.
Yeah, you should get her on as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much
Yeah.
again. And for the
Thank you.
thank you, viewers. And until next time, this has been Beauty of Darkness Book Reviews. And thank you so much. Until next time, have a good one, guys. Have a wonderful night.